Hello and welcome back to Coffee with Dari, a podcast focused on brand strategy, more specifically, brand strategy for women in leadership, C suite executives, or just someone who is a thought leader. I love helping women discover their brilliance, not just discover their brilliance. A lot of you really know that you are brilliant, but I love helping women express that and build their personal brands online. And if you are watching this on YouTube, quick life update. Drew and I have packed up our apartment, moved out of New York City, and we're heading on a big adventure. So this is kind of in between. I am in the woods. I'm sharing updates about that on my social channels, but quick update there. But today, what I really came here to talk about is reframing self promotion for women leaders. And I feel called to talk about this because I've met and worked with so many brilliant women. And this is a topic that keeps coming up. It's that apprehension to self promotion. There's a lot of feelings around what are people going to think? Who am I to talk about these topics? I do great work. My work should speak for itself. Why do I need to put out myself out there like this? And we're going to break all that down because we're just in an era, and I just did a reel about this, where being really good at what you do just kind of isn't enough anymore. You really do have to toot your own horn. And I know as women, sometimes we tend to put ourselves last. It's kind of uncomfortable to say, look at all these great things I've done. But really, if you want to advance your career or just open the door to opportunities that you didn't have before, you have to let people know what you're doing. You have to stay top of mind. And a great way to do that is to use online platforms to just gain visibility and be findable. So, the first thing I want to talk about is really what the cost of playing small is. And if people can't find you, then they can't offer you opportunities. So the cost is really opportunities you may not even know that are existing, that are out there because you have decided to play small and not put yourself out there. So I don't want that for anyone who is looking at influencers or looking at other people in their industries who are more visible online and are saying, hey, I could do that. Why is that not me? If you are ready to do this, let's go because there's so many opportunities out there. Like I mentioned, opportunities you may not even know exist, whether that's board seats or speaking opportunities, articles. Maybe it's a position that you didn't even think you could apply for. All these opportunities are out there, but if you are not visible, you will not get them. And I do not want you to pay that price, especially if you are ready to go. Okay, so if you've been on the fence, but you know you can do this, let's do it. So, another thing that I realize through conversations with clients and just women in leadership in general is that they feel like self promotion can be braggy or beggy. Like they feel like they're just showing off. And I know that comes off a little icky. So, self promotion, do not think of it as you being a look at me, look what I did. Isn't this great? It's not the energy we want to push behind that. It's not like I crushed this project kind of thing. A way we can reframe it, it's just here's a decision that I made, why it mattered, and then this is the impact that we saw. So it's more of you documenting almost like your thought leadership, um, documenting your process for making decisions. It's documenting and presenting them, right? So that people get to know you and how your brain works. So it's more of a case study. Let's reframe it as a case study as opposed to like a braggadocious moment. Okay. So you're not saying, look at me. You're saying, Here's a lesson, here's how it played out, and here's the results. That's, again, not begging for recognition. You're not asking people for a cookie. It's just documenting what you're doing and putting it out there so that other people can also learn a lesson from it. I think a lot of times we don't realize that we might be helping someone out by telling our stories. We're letting people in on knowing how our thought process works, what we believe in, what cultures match with us. And that's super important to put out there. So, again, we're not bragging, we're not begging for attention. You are just presenting the great work that you do in the form of a case study. I hope that helps you reframe that. So instead of thinking, let's talk about some language swaps now because it's something that I think is also really important. Because when we talk about these moments where you're saying, I did a good job, here's what I did, that feels a little braggy, right? As opposed to thinking of it as like, instead of thinking like, I'm the best, let's change that language to here's what changed for our team when we did this thing. Here's a lesson you can use. Here's what I learned and how it helped me. I want to share a principle that guided my decision. These are ways to reframe, swap your language into language that doesn't feel icky, braggy, again, all the things that we just talked about. So here are three easy, quick wins, a little homework for you to kind of get the ball rolling and move you forward, right? So let's think about what is something you've been working on this week that we can kind of create a recap out of. So this week, we moved the needle by X. And here's the biggest insight from this. Or another way to think about it is what we did, what worked, what didn't, what changed, and what's next. Can you take something that happened, doesn't even have to be this week, in the past month, where you can tell the story of a challenge that you had and how you solved it, right? Next post can be a leadership lesson. So, one leadership principle I live by is blank because blank. Or we can say a lesson I learned is blank. Here's a principle I come back to when things get tough. Maybe we can even pull an excerpt maybe from a book you read recently, something that stuck out to you. Share that. And then lastly, another quick win homework for you is to post something that can engage your peers. So comment on colleagues' posts, add your perspective. Maybe your company has posted something, you can repost it with your own thoughts. Um, that's a way to engage with peers, engage with your community. Maybe something happened this week that was timely in your industry. What are your thoughts about that? Talk about it in that way. So I'd love it to hear from you if you can share any of these quick wins to kind of get the ball rolling if you've been hesitating. I hope that this helped reframe that pick me feeling or reframe that self promotion adherence that you're having. I hope that helped you reframe that resistance for self promotion. Because again, you're not being braggy. You are just letting people know about your achievements, your accomplishments, your wins. And there's nothing wrong with that. So I really hope I do see some of you use these prompts, these little nudges to help you kind of move the needle forward. Tag me. I'd love to see what you come up with. And DM me on Instagram at Darilo, DHARILO, and tell me one moment where you held back from sharing your brilliance, and maybe we can reframe it together. All right, I'll see you next time on another episode of Coffee with Dari. I'll talk to you soon.